Every morning, an unusual sight graced the small town. A majestic eagle landing near a stray kitten, seemingly watching over it. Locals watched in awe, perplexed by this unlikely friendship. The kitten, which the children had named Whiskers, seemed comforted by the bird's presence. It became a daily ritual that captivated everyone's attention. The town's fascination turned into concern when they noticed the eagle behaving strangely one morning. Melissa closely watched the eagle as it approached the tiny kitten, and she thought it was going to be just like any other encounter between the two. There was nothing strange about it at first. It suddenly came a lot closer than Melissa had ever seen it do. And when she saw what happened next, she couldn't suppress a scream. This could not be really happening. The eagle had taken Whiskers in its beak, and it flew away, leaving Melissa completely shocked. But why did the eagle take Whiskers? Where did it bring the kitten? And would Melissa ever find it again? But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't. And hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Melissa had been sitting on a bench, taking a break from her daily morning hike, when she smiled as she noticed Whiskers was sitting in his usual spot. Whiskers was such a cute little cat, and even though it was a stray, it was never hungry or thirsty. Everyone in town loved Whiskers, and they all made sure he had plenty of food and water. When the eagle first started visiting Whiskers, many people were a bit suspicious. They thought Whiskers was in danger, and the eagle wanted to hurt it. As time passed, however, and the eagle continued visiting Whiskers without ever touching it, even the worried townspeople started to relax, and they accepted this strange animal friendship. However, when Melissa saw the eagle take Whiskers away, she was the only one there. She really needed help, but she wasn't even sure people would believe her story. Melissa jumped up and ran back to the town, hoping she'd find help on the way there. The first person she encountered was a hiker from another town who had never heard of Whiskers and the eagle, and he had no idea what she was talking about. Melissa did not give up though, and she was determined to find someone who could help her. "Whiskers! Whiskers is gone!" she yelled, and immediately people reacted. Everyone who heard Melissa's urgent words gathered around her, wanting to hear the story. They believed her, but they were all completely shocked by this. Why would that eagle ever do such a thing? They asked themselves. And they wondered what was going on. Most of the people needed to go to work, so they decided to work in shifts. Melissa and a few others were going to look for Whiskers first, and the others would take over later. Tom and Linda wasted no time. Tom headed north, his eyes scanning every bush and tree, while Linda and Sarah made their way to the park. Their phones buzzed with messages, but there was still no sign of the beloved kitten. Melissa trekked up the dusty path to the ranger station, sweat dripping down her face. The sun was high, and the heat was relentless, but she pressed on. She knew she couldn't give up on Whiskers. "Almost there," she muttered to herself, her legs feeling heavier with each step. The station was in sight, and she quickened her pace, determined to find Randy. When Melissa finally reached the ranger station, she was sweaty and out of breath. She leaned against the railing, taking a moment to catch her breath. "Randy, are you here?" she called out, her voice echoing slightly. She wiped her forehead with the back of her hand, glancing around. "Randy!" Melissa called again, louder this time. She stepped inside, the cool air a welcome relief from the heat outside. She walked through the small station looking for any sign of the ranger. Melissa wandered through the empty station, peeking into rooms and calling out. "Randy, are you here?" she asked, but there was no immediate response. The place felt deserted. "Where could he be?" she wondered aloud, frustration creeping into her voice. Just as Melissa was about to give up and leave the station, she heard the rumble of an approaching Jeep. She turned to see it coming up the path, her heart skipping a beat. Please let it be Randy. she hoped. Randy stepped out of the Jeep, a look of surprise and concern on his face. "Melissa, what's going on?" he asked, walking over to her. "Randy, thank goodness you're here," she said, her voice trembling slightly. Inside the ranger station, Melissa quickly explained the situation to Randy. "Whiskers, the stray cat everyone loves, was taken by an eagle," she said, her voice trembling. "I've tried everything, Randy. We need to find Whiskers before it's too late," she pleaded. Randy nodded thoughtfully. "All right, let's figure this out. Eagles usually have specific spots they stay around. We can check those places first." He pulled out a map and started marking potential locations. "I just hope we're not too late," she whispered, climbing into the Jeep, her heart heavy with worry. Randy parked the car a safe distance away from the area to avoid scaring the eagles. "We don't want to spook them," he explained as he turned off the engine. Melissa nodded, understanding the need for caution. They got out of the car quietly, careful not to make any sudden movements. Randy pulled out a pair of binoculars and began scanning the area. They continued to survey the landscape, hoping for any sign of the little cat among the trees and rocks. After a few minutes, Randy handed the binoculars to Melissa. "There are a few eagles up in those trees," he said, pointing. Melissa looked through the binoculars, spotting the majestic birds perched high above. "I see them," she said, her voice tinged with frustration. "Let's try the next spot," Randy suggested, already heading back to the car. Melissa followed, her heart pounding with anxiety. Randy parked the Jeep at the edge of the new area, and they both jumped out. "Let's start searching," Randy said, leading the way. Melissa followed, her eyes scanning every bush and tree. Melissa scanned the empty, seemingly deserted spot, her heart sinking. "There's nothing here," she said quietly. They were puzzled by the absence of eagles in this location. "This doesn't make sense," Randy said, shaking his head. Suddenly, Melissa spotted an eagle holding Whiskers. "There!" she shouted, pointing towards the sky. Randy followed her gaze and saw the eagle carrying the small, limp form of the kitten. "We have to follow it," Melissa said urgently, her voice filled with determination. Randy nodded, quickly heading back to the Jeep. As they followed the eagle, Melissa strained to see if Whiskers was still alive. Randy sped up, chasing the eagle through a bumpy ride. The Jeep bounced over rocks and dirt, making it hard to keep their eyes on the sky. The eagle landed in a clearing, and Melissa's fear spiked. "What if it's going to eat Whiskers?" she thought, panic rising. Randy slowed the Jeep, parking a safe distance away. "We need to be careful," he whispered. They watched as the eagle looked around, still holding Whiskers in its talons. They prepared to intervene as the eagle descended with Whiskers. Randy grabbed a stick, ready to use it if necessary. The eagle's wings flapped, and it began to lower the kitten to the ground. "Now," Randy whispered, and they moved forward, ready to save Whiskers. Whiskers was happily playing with another cat, which Melissa soon realized was its mom. She blinked in disbelief as the two cats rolled and tumbled together. "Is that really Whiskers?" she asked Randy, who nodded, equally astonished. "Looks like the eagle brought him home," he said. Melissa's heart swelled with relief. Whiskers seemed unharmed and joyful, completely at ease with his mother. The eagle had reunited Whiskers with its mom. "Oh, Whiskers, I'm so glad you're okay," she said, scooping him up. Randy smiled, watching the heartwarming scene. "This is incredible," he said. Melissa hugged Whiskers tightly, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over her. Randy and Melissa marveled at the eagle's unexpected role. "Who would have thought an eagle could be so helpful?" Randy mused. The eagle took off, soaring back into the sky. Melissa watched it go, feeling a deep respect for the majestic bird. "I guess we owe it a big thank you," she said. Randy nodded. "Absolutely. That eagle turned out to be a hero," he agreed. The townspeople gathered to hear Melissa's incredible story. Word had spread quickly, and soon a crowd had formed in the town square. Melissa stood at the center, holding Whiskers, and began to recount the day's events. "You won't believe what happened," she started, her voice full of excitement. Everyone listened intently, hanging on her every word. The story of the eagle's surprising actions left them all in awe. Everyone was amazed and relieved by the happy ending. Gasps and exclamations filled the air as Melissa described how the eagle had reunited Whiskers with his mother. Whiskers became even more beloved in the town. The tale of his adventure with the eagle spread, and people couldn't get enough of the little cat. Children ran up to pet him, and adults smiled, glad to see him safe. "Whiskers, you're a little hero," one person said, scratching behind his ears. The eagle continued to be a fascinating part of the community. People began to see it not just as a predator, but as a guardian of sorts. "Who knew an eagle could be so protective?" someone marveled. Randy shared stories of eagle behavior, and the bird became a symbol of unexpected kindness. The town's perception of the eagle shifted, and it was now regarded with a mix of respect and curiosity. Melissa and the team felt fulfilled by their successful rescue. "We did it," Melissa said, smiling at Randy and the others. "Whiskers is safe, thanks to all of us." They hugged and celebrated, feeling proud of their teamwork. The sense of accomplishment was profound. Melissa looked at Whiskers, who seemed happy and relaxed. "We make a pretty good team," Randy said, and everyone agreed. The adventure had brought them all closer together.